The camera light blinked red. "Hit that like button right now," the host whispered, leaning so close his breath fogged the lens. "Because in 30 seconds you're going to watch a billionaire's wife destroy her legacy with one glass of wine, and the man she drenched is about to own her soul." Cut to black. A single drop of red wine hung in slow motion, suspended like a ruby tear, then shattered across a crisp white shirt. Gasps, phones raised. The clip looped once more before the title card slammed on screen. Marcus Hale had never planned to be the story. He planned numbers, pipelines, quarterly growth. At 37, he ran haletech, a clean energy firm that powered half the hospitals in the Midwest with solar arrays nobody else could finance. He wore the same charcoal suit 3 days a week because it fit, not because it impressed. His only vanity was a thin gold wedding band he twisted when he lied, something he rarely did. Tonight the lie was simple: "I'm fine in this room." The room was the Grand Orchid Ballroom of the Langham Hotel, rented for the annual Chicago Philanthropy Gala. Crystal chandeliers dripped light onto tuxedos and gowns that cost more than most mortgages. Marcus stood near the bar, sipping sparkling water, watching donors trade favors the way kids swap baseball cards. Across the marble floor, Cassie Langford-Vaughn held court. Cassie was 42, heiress to Langford Properties, 63 skyscrapers, 2 private islands, and a cosmetics line that promised eternal youth. Her platinum hair was twisted into a knot so tight it looked painful. Her smile never reached the eyes. She wore emerald silk that caught every camera flash, and on her wrist dangled a diamond bracelet rumored to have once belonged to a Russian czarina. She was laughing at something a senator said, but her gaze kept flicking to Marcus. He felt it like static. Their history was a single email thread from 6 years earlier. Marcus, then a scrappy startup founder, had pitched Langford Properties on a joint green retrofit for their downtown tower. Cassie's assistant replied, "Mrs. Langford-Vaughn does not invest in unproven minorities." Marcus printed the email, taped it above his desk, and built a $40 million prototype anyway. The tower never got his panels. He never forgot the sentence. Now here they were, breathing the same overpriced air. Cassie detached from her cluster and glided toward him. The crowd parted like stage curtains. "Mr. Hale," she said, voice honey over broken glass. "I hear your little solar toys are keeping the lights on in some quaint neighborhoods." Marcus smiled the way you do at a dentist drill. "They're keeping the lights on in 3 children's hospitals, Mrs. Langford-Vaughn, quaint enough for me." Her eyes narrowed. A waiter passed with a tray of 1982 Château Margaux. Cassie lifted a glass, swirled it then. Accident or not, the footage would argue forever. Tilted her wrist. The wine arced a perfect crimson ribbon and baptized Marcus from collar to belt. Silence detonated. Phones rose like periscopes. Cassie's lips parted in theatrical shock. "Oh dear, how clumsy of me." Marcus looked down at the stains spreading across Egyptian cotton. He could have shouted. He could have walked away. Instead he laughed, one low, rolling note that cut the room in half. "Ma'am," he said, loud enough for the microphones hidden in floral centerpieces, "you just insured my next quarter." He unbuttoned the ruined jacket, folded it once, and handed it to the nearest waiter. "Frame this, auction it for the hospitals." Then he walked, barely dripping, straight to the podium where the MC had frozen mid-sentence. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus said, voice steady, "I came to raise $200,000 tonight. Thanks to Mrs. Langford-Vaughn's generous contribution," he gestured at his shirt, "we just hit 1 million in viral pledges. Keep 'em coming." The room exploded. Cassie's face went the color of the wine on the carpet. Marcus had almost not come. His wife Amara was 8 months pregnant and craving mango sorbet at 3 a.m. Their daughter, Zoe, age 5, had drawn a picture of Daddy in a cape made of solar panels. "So you can fly home faster," Zoe explained. Marcus kissed both their foreheads and promised he'd be back before the streetlights dimmed. He almost kept that promise. Cassie stormed to the ladies' lounge, heels stabbing marble. Her publicist, a twitchy man named Preston, trailed behind. "Delete it," she hissed, "pay whoever, bury it." Preston's fingers flew over his phone. "Already trending, ma'am, Winegate, 2 million views." Cassie stared into the mirror. The woman looking back had everything and in one splash nothing. She remembered her own mother, steel magnolia debutante, racist in silk, teaching her that power was a perfume, apply just enough to be noticed, never enough to stain. Tonight she had doused herself. Amara watched the clip on mute so Zoe wouldn't wake. She rewound it 3 times, studying her husband's face. Not anger, calculation, pride. She texted him, "Bring home the cape, Superman, and mango sorbet." He replied with a single emoji, a droplet. Marcus woke to 4,127 notifications. His CFO, Priya, called from the airport. Board wants an emergency meeting. Stocks up 12%. Hospitals are getting calls from strangers wiring thousands. Also, Cassie's PR team is offering $10 million for a joint apology photo op. Marcus poured coffee, tell them 20, and we pick the hospital rooftop for the shoot. Cassie did not sleep. She sat in her penthouse, Lake Michigan glittering like broken promises beyond the glass. Her husband, Trip Vaughn, third spouse, hedge fund prince, was in Aspen clearing his head. Translation: skiing with a 26-year-old trainer. Cassie opened her laptop. The headline on every site, Billionaire heiress's meltdown caught on camera. Comments were brutal. Finally, karma wears Louboutins. That man built something, she just pours. She closed the lid and did something she hadn't done since boarding school, she cried. The rooftop of Lurie Children's Hospital smelled of helipad fuel and hope. Marcus arrived in a new suit, navy, off the rack. Cassie wore beige as if trying to disappear. A dozen cameras clicked. Marcus spoke first. Mrs. Langford-Vaughn and I have agreed to co-fund a renewable energy wing here. 20 million each, no logos, just kids breathing easier. Cassie's voice cracked. I was unforgivable, I'm learning what sorry costs. A little girl in a wheelchair rolled forward, handed Cassie a crayon drawing, a sun with a band-aid. Cassie knelt, silk hems pooling on concrete, and accepted it like a sacrament. They fracture slowly, then all at once. Langford Properties board convened in a mahogany cave downtown. Cassie's uncle, Chairman Reginald, slid a folder across the table. Resign as CEO or we vote you out by noon. Inside, screenshots of Cassie's old emails, the one to Marcus 6 years ago now public, donors pulling Gala commitments, tenants threatening green clauses in leases. Cassie signed. Marcus's company went public. The IPO bell rang on a Tuesday. By Friday, he was a billionaire on paper. He celebrated by taking Zoe to the planetarium and buying Amara, the sorbet food truck parked outside. Cassie moved into a condo half the size of her former closet. She enrolled in an MBA program, online, nights, using her middle name. Her professor, a Ghanaian woman with a kind laugh, had no idea who she was. The energy wing opened. Marcus cut the ribbon with the same little girl, now cancer-free. Cassie stood in the back row, clutching a volunteer badge. After the ceremony, Marcus found her by the vending machines. Still twisting that ring, she asked. Old habits. I sold the bracelet, she said, paid tuition for 6 nurses. He nodded, progress tastes better than Margaux. She laughed, really laughed for the first time in months. Haletech powers 40% of Chicago's skyline. Langford Properties is now Langford Hale Renewables, co-chaired by a former heiress who starts every meeting asking, how does this help the kids on the 10th floor? Marcus and Amara's second daughter was born the night the first wind turbine spun atop the old Langford Tower. They named her Ruby. The host's face filled the screen again, eyes shining. That, fam, is how one glass of wine toppled an empire and built 2 legacies. If this story moved you, and be real, it did, smash that like button, drop a comment telling me which moment hit hardest, and subscribe because next week we're exposing the tech mogul who faked his own kidnapping. Turn on notifications. You won't want to miss it. The drop of wine fell once more in slow motion. Fade to black.